Originally, you saw kids walk in with calculators. They were calculating. They didn't want to go over the $950. They're standing with calculators, adding it up. You know, these are smart people. They're not so stupid, but they have to be taught. Now, if you had one really violent day, like a guy like Mike Kelly, put him in charge, Congressman Kelly, put him in charge for one day. Mike, would you say, he's right here, he's a great congressman. Would you say, Mike, that if you were in charge, you would say, oh, please, don't touch them, don't touch them, let them rob your store. Let all these stores go out of business, right? They don't pay rent, the city doesn't have money. It's a chain of events that's so bad. One rough hour, and I mean real rough, the word will get out and it will end immediately. End immediately. You know, it'll end immediately.
Okay, so I'm assuming that at this point, coming out of the weekend, you probably don't need me to bring up the Purge comparisons. Pretty much everyone has. It's all over CNN at this point.
A storm is tearing up the digital media industry. Only our audience can save us in these difficult times. Help us reach our goal of 100,000 new members at tyt.com/team.
Yeah, that's kind of the idea. If we just have a day or an hour in which the cops can just do whatever, I'm not going to say what, but it's going to be really rough. Like, it's going to strike me, Donald Trump is particularly brutal. Think about that. Well, then, yeah, we'll be fine at that point. And so, yeah, criminals should face absolutely brutal violence, and then they'll learn. Sorry, certain types of criminals, of course. If you shoplift or whatever, because we're laboring under this delusion that shoplifting is at way higher levels than it was 5 years ago, which is just not the case, then yeah, you should be beaten, maybe killed. Maybe some of you will be killed by cops. But if you're like a CEO of a corporation, you've been engaging in billions of dollars worth of wage theft, I have a feeling the cops probably will not crack your skull open. They're not going to bash your skull against a wall or something, because obviously it's way more theft. But of course, it's not that sort of criminal that we're talking about here. It's someone who steals, like a mug or something. You can kill them potentially, and that'll send a message. But CEOs should continue to rob you. With the difference being, of course, that the people cheering in the audience there are the ones being robbed by the CEOs, and he is very conveniently diverting their attention away from that, Francesca. And so, I don't know, where do you want to go with this? The fact that this is like one of the most openly fascistic calls to arms that I've seen from a politician literally in American history. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I think both of those points are really well taken. I just felt like he was describing his sex life, one rough hour and it'll be over immediately. That's what you're promised, and then it's over. But yeah, this is basically a call to the Donald Trump brown shirts. This is a stand back, stand by moment. This is, if any protests happen to break out, say because the police, once again, murder an unarmed American, then you have the right to go shoot them. And we've obviously seen that. We might be talking about Rittenhouse a little bit later, but we've seen that vigilantism in practice. And so here you have it, and here we're being gaslit and told that the rhetoric on the left is just as violent when Donald Trump is asking for extrajudicial, take justice into your own hands, every overweight MAGA man putting on some spandex and being his own neighborhood Batman. Like, that's what he's asking for. I mean, they really do. They have the costumes and everything. I mean, it's mostly khakis and gaiters around their faces. But again, it gets worse under Donald Trump. Here you go. He has promised very excitedly violence. He has stirred up images and encouraged people to commit violence against shoplifters. Guys, we're not even talking about, what would justify this? It's not like he's going after rapists and criminals and pedophiles, You might actually have to look at some of his, his Rolodex in the past and himself. No, it's shoplifters. Heaven forbid someone steal mascara and or diapers and or baby formula because they can't afford it. It's that's the same thing. And you're saying you sort of mentioned wage theft, but there's something even more direct, which is last year Walgreens admitted that they overinflated shoplifting numbers, despite the fact that they were just simply shrinking. They just weren't meeting their quotas. They had bought up every effing corner, put out of business every mom and pop shop. And then they expanded too quickly and they had to, roll it back. And of course, in order to protect their CEO pay, they're going to shut down a few franchises, put some people out of work and make it harder to get goods. Like, that's what it was.
So they pretend that the reasoning is shoplifting, but it's not, and they've admitted it.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, 100%. Yeah, look. By the way, if you go into a Walmart and you steal an item, that's theft. If they price gouged you for years, that's not theft. I just want to be very clear about how theft works in these environments. But no, it's all
if they give
fake,
you a different price than the person next to you, because they have tracked your mobile orders, they've tracked your behavior. And we talked about this on my show, The Bitchuation Room. That's totally legal for them to do those price gouging schemes that are simply robbery.
Yeah, 100%. No, it's they've been jacking up the numbers. They've been like, and again, and one of the things they love, like in Texas, like Ted Cruz will be like, well, they said that you can steal up to $950 without getting charged. So then they just go in and they total it up, and then they do that. Like, yes, a threshold was set beyond which it's now a felony or whatever. Those thresholds are lower than they are in a lot of these right-wing states. They already had the same laws in those states. Just California initiated new ones that were more stringent than but again, you don't hear that because it's convenient to attack California, ignore what's going on in Texas or whatever. Again, the entire thing is utterly ridiculous. Trump's communications director says, President Trump has always been the law and order president. He was calling for an hour or a day of violence. Remember that he gets 1 day of being a dictator and the cops get 1 day of the purge. That's totally constitutional. That's what all that is about. Every person in the employ of Donald Trump has to constantly conjure up a fictional candidate that he is not and cannot be, but they really wish he was because then they could win and get their tax cuts. And then they just talk about this fictional thing that they made up. Maybe it's like a chat bot that they go to feel better about their lot in life. And then meanwhile, Donald Trump is undercutting literally all of it. When you click the join button and become a tier 2 member, you get access to all of our weekly top 10 lists. What are you waiting for?